Honesty is very important. I don't want people giving promises they can't keep. I'd really like a political leader to level with us and say, you know, the future 5 years are going to be difficult, because we all know they are. And I'd like them to work hard, to be people of absolute integrity, and to care about everybody in society, but especially those who are on the margins.
Waiting lists on the NHS haven't been raised. I think the global crisis and all the welfare rights, and I think people who are really living in poverty, I don't think it's been addressed by the people. But NHS, I think I am an NHS employee, and I just really see the suffering of people. I work in mental health. I see the suffering of people, and it's absolutely unacceptable. This can't go on. People aren't able to return to work, not because they're lazy and all these things that politicians imply. They're not able to go because they don't have the healthcare that they need to be able to get ready and go back into work. And that's probably why the welfare bill is linked to the NHS waiting list. So these two things are the most important, I think, that needs to be addressed.
Housing's top of the list because that's what I do. I think most of them have been addressed. Whether I agree with what they're saying is another matter.
Housing is very important to me, especially social housing and affordable housing. The plans to treat asylum seekers and refugees fairly is very important to me. The NHS is very important to me. The state of our prisons is very important to me.
Well, I mean, all I can think about so far is like cost of living crisis, really. Everyone's struggling to pay the bills and stuff. That's what needs to sort out first and foremost.
Crime round here. That's the main thing. Up the road here, stabbed to death, kicked to death in his house. The police. I don't want to check up on.
So I think in terms of this area as well, I think there is this matter of, we have seen a real significant rise in a lot of refugees, asylum seekers, and I think that does need to be addressed in a fair way. I think not everyone, my stance has always been, don't make these rigid rules which apply to everyone. That's not going to work. It doesn't work. It never has. Look at all the other successful European economies, how they've battled through. If you look at them, one size doesn't fit all, works in every situation, every place, and it's going to be very similar for this situation as well.
He's very suave. He's obviously very well educated. He's very clever, I would think. But I don't know him as a person. So, and obviously he's very, 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 very wealthy.
Someone who's not really aware of the struggles of the working class. He just doesn't have that experience. He's just like growing up in a very lavish home, and he doesn't really understand what it's like to struggle, really. And that's all it's about.
I think Rishi Sunak, with all the best of intentions, he did some good things when in COVID. I think it was a very challenging time globally, economically. He's made some very poor decisions though. And I think that has really come and hit the country. I think Conservatives generally in the last 14 years, I think we've given them more than their right for opportunity to do something meaningful. I think the furlough scheme was really good for some people. And it really helped the economy at that time, but I think there's been a lot of fraud as well that has happened in that, and I think that's really also, I don't think it was monitored how it could have been or should have been, and that's probably also, so for Rishi Sunak, I'm going to kind of say, you've not been the wisest men, so, and I think that's going to contribute. I have been feeling sorry for him lately.
He's the best of a bad bunch, isn't he? Yeah. That's it.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't necessarily say he was like working class. Obviously, well, he grew up in a working class family, but yeah, I mean, I wouldn't really, like Jeremy Corbyn, I wouldn't really say he represents the working class. He sort of just doesn't really represent the many, like Labour policy, like which is what Labour policy is. Yeah. He just kind of like,
well, yeah, so generally I have been favourable more for Labour because it's always worked really well for middle class people. It's thought about poverty, it's thought about NHS. Recently, I don't know, and to be honest with you, I've been really disappointed in recent debates between the two. I think Starmer has not given any conclusive, any answers to any of the queries, any of the concerns that we have. He's not really told us what he's actually going to do to address these problems. And I think Rishi Sunak, yes, he's made some really difficult, but at least he's given us some clarity on what his plan is. We might not agree with them, but at least we know what we're going to get. But with Starmer, I'm not quite sure I know what his plan is. He's saying he's going to do all these wonderful things. How? When? Where? I'm not quite sure.
He seems trustworthy. He's obviously very well educated as well. I don't think possibly he's got such a good debating style as Rishi Sunak, but that's not what's most important to me.